Okay.
We did it.
I'm not sure if we did it. We have to ask people how our audio is.
Bulalang, if you're there, tell us
Let
if
us know, Bolalan. Um, Bambos changed our setup and he didn't test it before setting up, which is very wonderfully chaos of us.
I know we're going to test it today. Bulalang, are you there?
Yeah, exactly. Is our one friend who's missed us all these 2 months. And is the sound right? We're getting a strange sort of audio on our mic. So I'm not quite sure if our audio is working well.
So as usual, it's a wonderful chaos.
And we like it that way. Bambos.
Andy, we're going to spend an hour together discussing
discussing how my hair is longer than it's ever been in my entire life. I have less hair, but it's longer. And we forgot to do our intro. So we're back after 2 months away. And basically, Bambos, I don't know what the hell I'm doing anymore. Do we have...
Scroll down?
We have this cool intro thing, but even that's gone. Like, what's still here from our past? Let's see if it works. Ooh, we're here on what, Bambos?
A wonderful chaos, Andy.
We'll see if it works. Hey, we're back.
We're back.
We have one comment. Hopefully that comment is informing us that they can hear us. So Bolalang, thank you for waiting for 2 months for us. I'm sorry it took us so long to come back to you. 2 months, Bambos.
2 months, Andy.
I think people probably thought we said we were going to go away and had no intention of coming back.
No.
You know, when people say, oh, we're going to take a break, usually that's code word for, hey, we're quitting. We just don't want to say it.
I did miss the show. And today I felt excited coming back to it. But while we were not doing it, I can't say that I missed it.
Yeah.
That was the...
I mean, it's funny to say we do it every day, and I honestly didn't miss it. I really didn't miss it. It might sound horrible to say that.
It's horrible.
But
you were listening to it every day.
But I was listening to it every day. So I didn't miss doing it, but I enjoyed actually listening to it.
Nice.
And I also saw a few things. Like I noticed our first shows. Hey, JC. We see JC is back in the house.
Hey, Mr. Barnett.
I did see that our later shows were better than our earlier shows.
Of course. Just like this show is going to suck today.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm a bit. I've got my thoughts on it. I feel that when you were fully in your strength, the shows were better.
So I'll take full responsibility for.
I did, because in a way, it's almost like there's a dynamic that when our dynamic is strong and fun and playful, it bleeds into the connection with the guest. So I sort of felt like, oh, I can see that, I can sense we're enjoying ourselves. And I could see that it was easy for people to join us, the guests that were on.
Nice.
Yeah. And there were a lot of fun shows. I was actually surprised. You know, we, as everyone knows, or those, we didn't plan to do this. This is a COVID thing. So everything happened because of COVID. And then basically we did 150 shows.
Yeah.
And the guests we would pull on the first 50 to 70 were people I knew that were really easy for me to connect with and say, hey, come on. And then as we started doing last 50, it was people that neither of us knew. And it was a little bit like, wow, now what do we do? Because I can be a jerk with people I know. It's harder to be a jerk with people I don't know. So now we book through actually till April. We've got shows till the end of April right now.
And I'm happy to say that 2 of them I booked.
Two of them came from you, Bambos.
2 of them came from me.
I've been going to some interesting wells to get new shows. There are a lot of groups on Facebook which have people that propose themselves as guests. So one of the wells I go to is I just check out and say, hey, is this person's story interesting? And there's some really, I don't know if you looked if you look through any of the potential, I mean, there's some weird stuff that's coming on. You know, sometimes I felt a little bit like Jerry Springer. Like, oh, we've got Jerry Springer on. We've got a Jerry Springer show. We have somebody who I don't know how I think I came through one of the Facebook groups, but they did a 23andMe test, you know, these DNA tests, and they found out that their father was a famous person in their state, and that he had given his sperm to 20 other plus mothers who wanted sperm donation. So basically, this person now, just by doing this test, found out that she's related to this famous person, and now she's got all these siblings around the state.
You're excited about
these are the stories that just crack me up. So,
are we having Burlang back again?
I don't have him on for a show, but if he gives me a title, but we do have. Bolalong insisted many times that we have his friend, not necessarily friend, but someone he admires on. His name is Colin. I can't remember his last name, but he'll write it for us. And Colin did Honor Pay and ShareBay, which are two sites which I know Bolalong loves topics that are connected to the future economies. Like, how do we live in sustainable economies that are alternatives to capitalism, which are, you know, and he's on the show, I think this week even.
Yeah, it is.
This week.
I remember putting it up. I'm looking at this overexposed forehead of yours.
I know, it's terrible, isn't it?
It's really bad.
Let me see if I can push this back. Bambos, this is what happens when you turn 50. That's more overexposed. It's better. Okay. Let's see how that works.
So how are you, Andy Shalef? Are you jet lagged?
I'm pretty jet lagged.
He arrived yesterday morning.
Yeah. I spent 2 weeks or 2 months in Los Angeles. And I found it so interesting to go back to a place I was raised in, but with the eyes of someone who was just experiencing it for the first time. So I did all these random things that I would have never done when I lived there. And I just said, Ronnie, let's get in the car. And we would drive for 2 hours to some random place that I'd never been. We walked to the Hollywood sign, you know, and kind of climbed in the Hollywood Hills. And I found things that I didn't even know existed. I think that's when I look at my life, at the fun I get to have, it's always when I go into an experience without an expectation, and then I'm pleasantly surprised.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And by the way, you can't sit back now. Bambos, he set up new chairs for us today. So we've got this chair because we would always screw our backs up on this horrible sofa, but now we have to figure out how to negotiate.
We're gonna try the plastic glass ones tomorrow.
Oh no, that would be totally uncomfortable. So I'd like to hear from anyone out there, because we do have a few people. What did you guys miss in not having us around? Because I also felt a little bit bad. We were with a lot of the people who joined us for 2, 3, it was 3 months. No, it was a year. How long did we do the show?
We started in March.
We started in March. So we basically...
First day of lockdown in the Netherlands, we started.
Wow. And then from that point, basically we became, I always laugh and said, we became like Oprah for 10 people. Because there were like 10 people that would show up daily and then they'd be there. So I even felt a little bit bad. Like we're kind of leaving those people hung out to dry right now. Because now they don't have the chance to connect with us. All right.
We create scarcity, Andy. It's a business plan.
But you did see I was pumping out the podcast. I don't know, for those who haven't heard, basically we have oh, thank you, Bolong says that I missed the voices.
Let's put that comment up, Andy.
Yeah, let's put that up. Yeah. I put out a lot of videos to promote these podcasts that we had done, and we got them edited by Cass Midgley, as we know, from the audio engineer who did Everyone's Agnostic. Mm-hmm. And Bolalong, I think you'd love that podcast, by the way, Everyone's Agnostic, because basically Bolalong, Cass left the Catholic Church, as you saw from that episode, and he basically spent years and years and years sharing his experience of leaving the church, because he was also a minister, and having to deal with all of the backlash for that. So Bolalong has often shared with us his problems or his tension when it comes to religion, organized religion. Yeah.
And we definitely had our share of atheists on the show.
Yes. It was unintended, but it did show up. It did
atheists and World War II survivors.
In World War II survivors. That became two themes that emerged from a lot of World War II was going on. Yeah. And Iris Offer is back. We also put her show on live, the podcast version of hers. What would you say? Because you had 2 months. Like, how was it? How was it gone? How was it?
Well, since you're one of the closest friends I had, it was
closest. I'd say only
only only friend that I have, Andy. It was quite apparent that I was like, oh shit, there's a gap there. Like 4:30 every day was an excuse to leave the house if I was working all day. And all of a sudden, I had 2 hours at home that I could do other things.
And how, like, did you see yourself do things like creatively, or like what did you do differently? What I'm saying is, was that a gap, or did you find a way to make that 2 hours more meaningful because now you were replacing what we were doing here?
I wouldn't say I changed anything. My day would just continue. I elongated my day, but my work days have shifted. Instead of 8 hours, I work 5 hours.
Okay.
Just because I needed more self-care. It's weird, Andy, because it's COVID, so it's not like you're gone and I can like socially give myself something to replace that. So it's like there's COVID. I can't do shit with it. So I did spend a lot of time with Fetch and Yasmin, who we're going to have on the show again, and deepened my connection with these two beautiful souls. And I spent a lot of time reflecting. Like, I listened to your book 14 times.
14 times.
Like, that's how much I missed you.
That's incredible.
While Andy was in America, my last letter for him was just sharing that I listened to his book 14 times, and then realizing at the end of that how much I missed him. And I didn't know how you received that, because you kind of changed the subject, and I wasn't sure if it was your inability to receive love, or if it was just the medium of using chat to communicate that I couldn't really feel how it impacted you. But I was in tears when I wrote that to you.
Oh, I mean, I thought it was beautiful. And I mean, I think 14 times there's got to be something more interesting to read. As much as I like what I've written, I'm flattered that you've appreciated that much.
It really played a big role for me. Yeah. Because all the chapters in the book, I could find moments in my life where I found challenges in the last 2 months, where I would use the book as a reference as to how to navigate that situation.
Oh, wow.
Like, even having someone judging me. And in the past, I would defend myself, and this time I was like, oh wow, there's judgment there. So, and then I remembered the chapter, and I re-listened to the chapter, and then I got really clear that I was being judged, as opposed to being seen with loving and compassion eyes. And it was very empowering for me to take that and use that in a way to.
And how did, because if I understand, it was a chapter, fuck you and your fucking judgment.
Yeah.
You know, the book isn't for kids.
The book isn't for kids.
But how is it, like, how did you apply it? Because I don't see you saying that to somebody. So what did you do?
I did.
No.
I did.
No.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. It's almost like don't do, you know what they say, don't do as I do, not as I say, or something like that.
It felt very, very good to do it in that way, in a loving way also, and in a vulnerable way. Like, it wasn't done in a way of,
it was anger. It was just
like I was also in tears when I expressed that.
But can you share the story, or is it too connected to a person who may also be watching or something?
Everything that we do is connected to person.
Obviously, but share it,
Um,
please.
I was at a party, a little house party.
Okay.
What was it? It was a Christmas, second Christmas day.
Okay.
And I met this beautiful woman at the party. And obviously, I found her attractive. I shared that with her, but it took a while for me to just share the attraction, get it off my chest so I can ground myself again. And because she was expressing that she was living a non-dual lifestyle, and she also shared vulnerability where she cried, I'm like, oh, I can share this without needing it to be anything.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, she actually judged me for expressing that. And she did it in a way that didn't feel, it felt that she
You
was,
sensed that there was something going on.
yeah.
Okay.
And well, what happened was I messaged her on New Year, just say, hey, happy New Year, I'm really happy we met.
Mm-hmm.
And she just replied, delete my number. I sent her a really beautiful message of, I'm grateful to that we met this year. And like for me,
So you shared just beautiful vulnerability in the message.
it was a video actually.
Uh-huh.
And I sent a lot of people that are close to me that same video.
Uh-huh.
So I picked 15 people. I love you guys. Thank you for being in my life. You got it too. And delete my number, she said. And that's where it put me back. And I was like, wow, what am I missing here?
Yeah.
And then I realized she was judging me. And
Yeah. It took me that much time to realize she was judging me. Delete my number.
yeah, so in the past,
Uh.
I would just vanish into the silence without saying anything and
Yeah.
just letting it be. But this time I shared back impact, how it felt,
Uh-huh.
and that I felt sad that I felt a beautiful connection,
Uh-huh.
and I felt sad that it wasn't that she had not the same experience as me, and I just shared that there's definitely judgment there, and I'm not going to pretend.
Mm-hmm.
And as my mentor would say, fuck you and your judgment.
I see Bolalong has chimed in here and said, Andy, is this your parenting? Thank you, Bolalong. Yes.
Yes.
My parenting is teaching them how to use good cuss words at appropriate moments. Yeah, you got canceled. Raul says you got canceled, Bambos. So you...
My favorite people are just making fun of me, and I love it.
But my question to you is, so after she basically said, don't write, what did you do? And you wrote this message to her. Well, how did she react to it?
Didn't respond.
She didn't respond.
I did share with her, if you're open to sharing how I made you feel that evening, that for me is interesting.
Yeah.
But what I'm not interested is you telling me that you're having this non-dual way of being in the world, and then I feel judgment.
Yeah.
And you're not sharing what's happening for you.
Yeah, because it would imply that if you're having a non-dual experience of the world, that means you're experiencing it as is and not projecting onto it meaning, which of course we just do meaning making automatically. Yeah. Well, I love that you got rejected like that. That's beautiful.
Me too.
Well, for those that don't know the chapter, I don't know what number it is, but it's fuck you and your fucking judgment. And that's just in the book.
Do you know what I find annoying about your audiobook?
What do you find annoying about it?
That the tracks are not synced with the number of the chapter.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. There's a reason for that, Bambos.
I'm sure there is, Andy.
It's because when you upload
chapter
13 on the Wounded Healer, the reason for that, Bambos, is something that probably isn't interesting to a listener, but when you upload audio, they force you to put credits in, which puts it out of order. So you can't do it like a normal, or you can't sync it that way. And to get to the thoughts behind it, because if you just hear fuck you and your fucking judgment, it may get confusing. The intention of that chapter was for me at that moment where I had spent a lot of time, as people had judged me, I gave them a lot of space. So I was there for everybody all the time. It was like, oh, I sense a judgment. Oh, let me take responsibility because I can hold space for this person, even if they're judging me. So in a way, there was an aspect of it which wasn't really authentic, because in some ways, if I'm, did you have something to say, or? Oh, okay. You're just drying your
Swallowing.
mouth out. In some ways, if someone's judging you and you see that and you're not actually dealing with that, you're actually pretending that that isn't happening. And in this moment, I just refuse to do that.
Yeah.
And in that way, it was very liberating for me because it was like, oh, I don't have to pretend like this isn't also happening. And I think once one liberates themselves from that, then they get a little bit freer in their lives because you can leave space for another's judgment, or you don't need to leave space. But what in the case that we just discussed, I don't need to pretend like you're not judging me. Like that whole thing goes away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
And really, in the past, I would make myself really small, like, oh, I'm a man, I did something wrong, and tiptoe around the woman. And this time was, like I said, very empowering.
Yeah, I love it when we deal with people that say they're non-dual. There's the non-dualist.
No, or enlightened.
Enlightened. I listened to those shows that we did, by the way. I'm more enlightened than you. That show.
You are.
Yeah, exactly. And you said you had other chapters. Are there other things that came up? Would you care to share the South Africa experience? Because that was, or the Africa, not the South Africa. We can skip that one if you'd like, but I found it fascinating.
Yeah, we can share. I met a woman online, and it went pretty deep, pretty fast, and to the point where I did buy a ticket to visit this woman, to explore in person. And then a friend came to my house, and he pretty much gave me a reality check that I didn't expect.
Okay.
And the reality check was, are you crazy? You're just going there. You don't know her. Like, do you know how many scams there are? And all of a sudden, I felt this tension in my body where, oh, fuck. Like, everything that I know of this woman, I trust. And at the same time, when I shared it with you also, you shared that a common friend of ours who I also hold very high in terms of her sensitivity around people, had undergone a scam herself.
Yeah.
So why not me? And in a way, on the day of my flight, I canceled it. And it was probably one of the most difficult decisions I made.
I mean, it must have been intense. I mean, how long were you in contact with this person?
3 months.
So you're in contact 3 months. You basically are building up to a moment that you're going to fly to Kenya.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden on the day you say, I'm not coming.
Yeah. And again, there's a pattern that I have that I also broke. And the pattern was I didn't fully express to her the reasons, and I saw by not expressing it, it made her feel really confused and anxious. And I realized it's so irresponsible not to share what was behind that. So we got on a call, and I shared with her my fear of her being a con artist and what it was based on. And the funny thing is, she received it with nothing but love.
Which, and this is the screwed up thing. Did that make you feel more or less that she was a con artist potentially? Because if she was a really good con artist, then would be the way she would respond as well, or maybe not. Who knows? But interesting.
She's being quite consistent in her behavior.
Okay.
So she was able to receive it, but she didn't pretend that it didn't hurt, or that she felt disappointed at least. And that's what I found very beautiful. But I don't regret the decision, because I couldn't sleep for a whole week before the trip.
Yeah.
It kept me up at night, and I just couldn't find anything in myself. Do you know that? I mean, you were one of the reasons I didn't go.
Yeah, it could be. What was that?
In my mind, I have video called from this building.
You have video what?
I've spoken.
Oh yeah.
I've spoken to her while being in this building, and I also shared with her that last year during COVID, you financially supported me. So in general, she kind of knew that I wasn't financially a piggy bank,
Oh, okay.
but then I thought, okay, if I know this information and I let my imagination go wild, if I get kidnapped,
Yeah.
who are the people that
She would extort.
you be the one?
Yeah. I'd say let him die.
No, you wouldn't.
Stupid ass. I told him not to go.
But
Yeah.
that reality kind of hit me like I have nothing. Like if I
Yeah.
would be kidnapped, there's nothing. Like there's nothing to steal.
Yeah.
But then I realized, oh, most of my friends are wealthy.
Yeah.
And
That was the thought, was that they kidnapped you and tried to get the money. It would be from people you knew. Yeah.
yeah. Like as far as wanting to be a burden in your life, that's the last thing I would want to bring on your head.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think with everything that, but Bolalang, just you, I turned the microphone around. Bambos set up the mic, and he didn't actually have the right side forward. So it's all about his.
It's my fault, Bolalang.
It's all Bambos' fault. Yeah, I don't know. I think I was in the airport with Ronnie yesterday, and I said to her, "Isn't it funny? I was behind somebody who was complaining about something that had happened, and I said to Ronnie, isn't it amazing that if something negative happens or perceived as negative happens to you, how you process it totally defines your life." So that person processed that situation as negative, and I'm like, I would just say it is, okay, that's apparently where we are right now. What are we going to do? Because when I went to the US, like I tested positive for COVID. And it was like, since I was under so many precautions, so much, it was really hard to believe it was COVID. So I've got everyone else freaking out around me, and I'm laughing like, okay, guys, something doesn't feel right here. Like, yes, I hear all of it, but let's just do the judicious, as everyone is thinking, oh, go into quarantine. Oh my God. Da, da, da. And I was like, guys, let's just get another test, just to validate or invalidate. Cause I don't like taking things at face value and just following the herd. And so I test negative. Right. And then to get the double test, I do the antibody test, right? Where they test your blood to say, have you ever had COVID? And that was also a negative. So it was really funny because as everyone's freaking out, do you have COVID? I know my first response is, hey, if I die, it's okay. Like, let's just, and then you and Ronnie would say, yeah, it's okay for you, but you leave us behind. So
you fucking dick.
And I'm like, well, I'm not going to live in fear. But what I meant to say is there was some sort of relaxation through that process. There wasn't any hysteria. And I guess the thing that I see in life is, and I mentioned it on one of our shows when I listened back to that show with Ronnie, which I thought was very funny, when I said when we take a trip and Ronnie is relieved that we get there. So she's got all of the stress built up, and then we get to the place. It's like, oh, we got here. And I'm always like excited, like, shit, we made it. So the energy that I've attached to is I have no expectation we're going to get there. It's an intention, but I don't know if it'll really happen. And I see that way of being is it makes life so much easier, so much more enjoyable. Yeah. And I don't know why I'm saying this right now.
Me neither.
I thought we had some topic around this, but
no. You're just talking, Andy.
Okay. But I think it was attached to the idea of something that we were now discussing. Well, my point being, at the end, the expectation is just an intention, and then things turn out the way they turn out. Yeah. And the more I'm in touch with that, the happier I am, I have to say. For me, part of the intention was to go and support David, my friend. And I noticed that, it was he was very isolated during COVID, and it was very hard for him to let the let me even visiting be accepted as some sort of form of freedom. Like, oh wow, I got time to spend with friends. It was, and it goes back, I guess, to the moment ago, which is that the mindset has a deep impact on how you process the world. And his mindset was very much more protective and wanting to make sure that, he separated as much as he could from the outside world. Which means that the whole time we were together, I had a mask on, even though we were isolating for 2 months together.
Unless you were eating?
Unless we're eating, yeah. Yeah, we're very, very strict there. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Any other stories from the book?
I think the beginning of the book, when it talk about when you spoke about, I promised never to suppress my emotions on this trip.
Yeah.
That's kind of an agreement that I've made with myself moving forward. And
how does that show up?
just heightened awareness in my life, like even on this show, like just tuning into where am I shutting down and where can I open up more and show more and be more. Um, so I think a few days ago I shared on and it's fucking great. Uh, a kind of vulnerable share of how am I doing? A friend asked, and then I shared, and actually this was coming from I don't remember the chapter, but you sharing to celebrate the things that we're ashamed of when you peed in the car.
Yeah.
So and if I learned anything during last year when I did run out of finances and I just couldn't and I took it to heart and I was blaming myself, like I even thought about ending my life. That story came back again. But this time um the ending the me wanting to end my life, I allowed it to really enter me as opposed to playing with it for a few days. Okay, let's end up my life. What happens? And then there was a statement which also came from our journey together that kind of got hammered into me. I'm not worth living if I can't sustain my business. So I need to end my life. And when I wrote that statement, I was like, what the fuck? That's insane. I'm going to end my life because I can't keep my business above water during COVID. Like, is that how much I'm worth?
And think about how many people that have ended their lives because of it.
And then it took, and then because I allowed myself to get that far, I got to see your face, my mother's face, my nephews, friends and family who love and respect me with a big what the fuck. What the fuck just happened here?
Yeah.
And the agony I would leave my family in, and just because of an inability that I've still have to ask for help when I need it.
Yeah.
And so this was the first time I encountered that. I got to see also the 5 times I did try to kill myself when I was a drug addict. In case my mother listens to this, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, Mama.
Like I never had this way of thinking to process this. So, and I was going to make a post about this too, but of course I don't want to worry my family.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd rather talk about it here. Yeah. So, but again, because of that insight, I could make the post. I feel very grounded. I feel been doing some nice meditations. I'm reading your book. That keeps me sane. You are who you surround yourself with. So I have a few good books to, and I also, in a way, to celebrate the things which I wouldn't normally share. I've been unfucked for a while now, and it's fucking great.
Yeah.
And if anything's fucking me, it's my bank account.
And that's fucking great.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I really laughed. Like
Yeah.
that was a genuine first time in my life that I could celebrate it without it needing to hide it, or oh shit, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
Or so I would say Wonderful Chaos, your book,
Yeah.
spending time with you the last 9 months every day together almost.
Yeah.
It's really helped me to find peace with a lot of stuff that I struggled. So back to where I started, full circle, because I talk too much, and it's fucking great. No suppressing.
Wow.
And I do see and experience that the more I allow my voice to express the things which I don't want to express, the more I can relax into the present moment and stay connected with you and with the show and with
Yeah.
everything that I do.
That's
Like
beautiful.
there's nothing to hide.
No. When you said that, you spoke and you said a few big things, but one of the things you said that, and I guess I've always seen it in you, but we've discussed it in different ways, I guess, that when you said that you attached your value or even your right to exist with your ability to earn and to be comfortable with what money you have in the bank account. And as you said that, and I was, I taught, there's all the statistics that come out during the COVID time of how many people commit suicide during this period. And that a great deal of that comes from people feeling so in dismay around their financial situation that that's the way that they've decided to deal with it.
I panicked. Like I went into, if in 2 months from now I don't get a client, or I've been sending 150 messages every day almost on LinkedIn, cold emailing. I get a lot of response actually. I would say 15% respond back saying, we love your work, great offer. I love the way you write it. Images are amazing. And almost every day I get a message, but it's just planting seeds for the future. And I feel grateful for every message I get back, even though nothing is showing up as materializing. But at some point I was like, oh, if I can't be a photographer, then what the hell am I going to do in my life? Like I don't have an education, like all that shit came up. Don't have an education. I should just end it all.
Yeah.
I should just finish it. Enough. I've struggled enough. I'm done with this.
Yeah.
And then I miss the opportunity to see what I can create. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I'm definitely on board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Raul wrote, and I found this interesting. We discussed this some time ago, actually. He says, not suppressing, but not mad as hell. That's interesting. And I think that was something that I didn't phrase it the way Raul phrased it, but I phrased it as that a lot of times when all the situation around you, the conditions around you make it impossible for you to make work, you'll say, Andy, how do I make work? And not like, this fucking situation that I have no control over is imposing on me. So what makes that you deal with it in one way and not another way? So what makes it you don't turn it into anger and frustration? You stay with the, I'm holding this because I can take responsibility for my own life, and that's it. Like what?
Don't have an answer for that. It wouldn't be the same as it's storming outside and then you're screaming at the rain. Why would you scream at the rain?
Yeah, but in a weird way, the rain, we could say, is just the system of the earth, which no one has any control over it to the degree that with global warming, everyone can argue that. But if a government says, hey, we're closing down all this or that, you have no opportunity to work. And you're then saying, you know what, I'm suffering. When in actuality, the fact that all the businesses are closed down is the reason why you're suffering.
Yeah.
Not because you don't know how to make work.
Yeah.
And I see that a lot of times you carry that weight on yourself as if it's my responsibility. And yes, it is. We agree on that. But then again, it's not that you're in this situation because they've done a quarantine where no one's allowed to do any business anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's when Raul says he could also imagine someone going down that path just as easily as I could imagine as well, as we saw last week in Amsterdam with the riots. Yeah. I'm lucky in that regard because of how I lived. I've gotten lucky in that how I've supported and built my life is around businesses that don't necessarily get impacted by COVID or quarantines. So in that sense, I'm deeply grateful for that. Yeah. It's funny because I often laugh because when I'm, let's see, what did JC say to us now? Don't sell yourself short. You have assets. You're not realizing the creatives in photos transfer. I don't know if that's helping you, but that's JC's effort to say that he recognizes your talents. Yeah.
Thank you, JC.
Yeah. Thanks, JC. It's nice to. JC has been very busy contacting and getting people from my old high school together. So
nice.
Every day he's posting things. I love watching his activities. Yeah. So I booked us way out till April.
You've said that.
And I wanted to ask you a question about that.
Oh.
And you haven't looked at any of the shows?
No.
Okay. What makes that you don't look at like a show, any of the shows coming up? This isn't a gotcha question. It's just more of a mindset question.
I guess time.
Time. Yeah.
I've kind of minimized my screen time.
Uh-huh.
So when I say I work 5 hours a day, I tend to want to just turn everything off because there's so many notifications and messages and mediums that people can reach you nowadays. It's just too much.
It's just another thing.
And you know, I do create the Facebook events, so I get to see, and I know I'm going to see it. So I'm like, okay, it's going to.
Okay.
So I'm already this week. I already saw the shows. I'm like, okay, nice.
Okay, and you don't need any more than that.
No. Why would I fill up my head with
things that aren't relevant at this moment? Yeah. Smart. Yeah.
And I kind of recognize, oh, if I don't check, is this going to make Andy feel that I'm not appreciating all the effort he's doing? And then I'm like, fuck him. He knows me better than that.
Nice. I like that. Yeah, I mean, clearly, you checking isn't important. I was just curious because I realized last year it was almost like you never knew who was going to be on the show before you sat down, and you almost assumed everyone that was on the show knew me, because how else would we get them on the show unless they had? So like.
Well, at some point you were on a roll. Everyone knew you, okay?
Exactly. So the funny thing is, like, even like before, because sometimes I'll come in late when you'll be with the guest before I come in, and then you'll ask the guest, so how do you know Andy? And then they'll say, I don't. You know, there was a lot of that going on that the last half of our season last year. Yeah. I got to tell you, one thing that I really enjoyed in listening to the show that I didn't know when we had done them was the thing I underestimated as we were doing it. So when we would talk and just be ourselves and not necessarily engage or we'd engage with the person, but talking between us, yeah. I found that some of the most enjoyable parts of the show. Just because it's like, oh, we're just being, someone wrote to me that they listened to the podcast. They just said, oh, it's Andy being Andy, you know? And I laughed like, what else would it be? But in a weird way, when we're together, we're really together with the people that are with us. So I look at a Bambos or a JC or an Iris who are here so often that I feel like they're part of our family as well. Right?
What's JC on about?
What is JC is writing for you? What does that mean? I don't know what that means. Do you?
Solo broadcast.
Oh, your broadcast. Remember when you did your broadcast alone last year?
I never sent him the link to that.
Oh, I don't know. Well, we'll ask him to clarify more. I'd like to ask some of the people who are out there now, because we do have some, about
We have some.
we have some out there, especially with Bolalong. Bolalong said that he missed just hearing our voices, right? I'm always curious, like people that listen, like what is it that they really take away from our shows? I mean, I know all of our shows are very different, the topics, but it would be really nice to know, like, what are the things that people are taking away? Like, why would someone show up a few days out of a week to be with us? Because we do talk about so many different topics. So it would be really interesting to hear what are the things that people are taking away.
Yeah.
Because the things they're taking away might be different than what we think they'd be taking away.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So JC said the collared shirt shows.
I don't know.
I don't know. Assuming that's for some of those shirts. Remember, you'd wear those your shirts were cutoffs and stuff.
Wife beaters.
Yeah, the white. Oh, jeez. And what is Bolalong?
We are different in life. I am the type that likes to check what is coming if it is available, but it is useless because even though I looked at all the shows, I don't remember them now.
Yeah.
Like honestly, this is yes.
Oh, that's nice.
Nice.
Jessica says honesty, core, honestly, lightness, humor, for instance. Yeah. Yeah, that touches me because I got a beautiful message from somebody else yesterday, and they said they love the way we held such intense topics so lightly and full of love and laughter. And that really meant a lot to me. Yeah.
From who was it?
It was from I can't remember the man's name right now. He does his own podcast, but he'll watch some of our podcasts every so often. Yeah. I think that's a core point that I think when one makes a subject so intense that all of a sudden you lose the play in it or the curiosity in it, then all of a sudden you reinforce this negative thing and you lose the sort of lightness of life. And I do love the lightness of life, like holding the sadness with the laughter side by side. And I do see that when we try to bring guests on, I do love holding things with love and lightness.
Yeah.
I do. I know it's
as opposed to feeding their story,
and as opposed to feeding or saying, "Oh, let's be really heavy duty and make it really intense," and then almost like you say, feeding the story, and that would be it would be reaffirming it in a way that they feel stuck in that story, for instance. Yeah.
And we have had really tough subjects, like also the puppeteer that went to the schools.
Yeah.
I think that was one of our nicest shows also, in a way of...
Yeah, that was the woman who created puppetry, went into schools, and then found sexual people that were being molested at home.
Yeah. I like these chairs, Andy.
I find them comfortable. I think we have to figure out how to arrange our mic with the chairs, though. But yeah,
it's good.
They're more comfortable than our.
I'm like sitting really chewy.
Yeah, but look at all this weird stuff you've got going on here. Yeah,
it's my aura. It's my aura.
Your green screen. We got to clean up the green screen if we're going to do this. Look at underneath my arms.
Oh, for fuck's sakes!
I want to be professional. Oh, you want to take off the green screen completely and then just? Oh, you think you can fix it? Oh, that's interesting. Bambos is doing some technical work behind the scenes now.
Bam.
Oh, Bambos, you fixed it. Did you? We'll have to see.
Well,
but yeah, that's something that I really did. I have to say I enjoyed a lot. It was getting those people that were very much appreciating how we engage subjects. I mean, you see, Jessica, who was also on the show, right? Her topic was, of course, an intense topic, but I feel that when one leaves the time with us, they feel that we connected with them, but we were respectful of their story without trying to make it, abuse it. Yeah. I mean, we've got like,
I always feel that there's a space that's been created, and I don't know if it's intentional, where we all walk away having learned something or like integrated better.
Yeah. Even subjects that we think we might know, but then we leave ourselves a lot of curiosity to rediscover them again.
Yeah.
Like one of the subjects we have coming on is the I was raped at 25 story, which
Yeah.
is I think next week, I believe.
Yeah.
And that like it's weird because I'll write the subject down to prepare for that show, but then like there'll be this other consciousness in my brain that's sitting there saying, Jesus, we're talking to a woman who's been raped and two men. Like, who are we to have that discussion with her, right?
Yeah.
Like that goes into my head, and then I find peace again because I know we'll meet her in her space and we're not going to impose and all that. But there's that moment of like, wow, we're really doing this.
Yeah, that's actually one of my friends, right? And
yeah.
It was funny because when I asked her to do the show on this, because she does a lot of women's work, she's a doula, but if I ask her what happened in your life to propel you onto this journey, it was that moment in time which actually shattered her. It broke her.
Yeah.
And so I really feel her trust in coming onto the show. And of course, she's watched some shows. She's also Skyped with you when you were together, and she knows us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think her yes comes from just trusting us.
And in another show where I believe it was Jessica found a guest, she's thrown a few guests over to us, was a man who developed emotional CPR, and he had schizophrenia for many years, and it was through his schizophrenia that he actually developed this system which helped him overcome that schizophrenia.
Wow.
And what I thought was beautiful is that in some ways, when someone overcomes the thing like the schizophrenia, they often don't want to talk about that anymore because now we've discovered an approach and we want to talk about the approach. And for me, when we have the show, I'm more curious of the backstories that led to the discovery, because that's where other people are currently struggling today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But those are also the shows that get more views, right?
The ones where people are more authentic.
Where people come and they talk about, like, I've created this. It's a 5-step thing.
Yeah.
Like I just have a couple of friends that have podcasts, and it's all about success and business, and their ratings are off the roof.
Yeah, I know. I believe that if we did our only success in business, like our viewership would shoot up, but we wouldn't enjoy anything that we're doing. because the funny thing is it's appealing to what a person desires. And what are we doing? We're sort of just being with people, which I think they also desire. Let's also make that clear. But it's not a success, or it doesn't compel you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who the hell wants to watch Dark Knight to the Soul, huh?
Yeah. Dark Knight to the Soul, one of our favorite shows that only talks about the darkness of like dealing with the darkest, deepest dementia of whatever is going on in your head. Yeah. So yeah, and I'm looking forward to bringing on a lot of more diverse subjects as well, because we've gone through the well of a lot of the things that we were more comfortable with. So I'm really curious to dig into areas where it'll be a big exploration for the both of us.
Nice.
And and I think on when I did the last letter tour, and I told you I always wanted to do the tour in drastically different locations when I would sit with the groups, because I wanted to experience myself being in groups that were so diverse. Like, why wouldn't it work to write letters to loved ones in any single group you could imagine? It shouldn't. And in a way, I kind of have the same idea of this show.
Yeah.
Is that why wouldn't we be able to invite anybody on? And then, and some things I wouldn't want to give space for, but like.
Anything in particular?
I mean, I couldn't see putting like a white supremacist on the show, because I don't feel like I'd want to have understanding for them, although I could have understanding for them. Right.
It's in your Wounded Healer book, you spoke to this woman. It was a chapter on white privilege.
Yeah.
And I think during the time that you were gone, I also spent like a few weeks just crying for all the injustice that is happening in the world towards people who have a different color.
Yeah.
like slave labor has ended, but it hasn't. In a way, it's just disguised in a different format
Yeah,
that's more socially acceptable, and we become blind to it.
totally. Even in education in America, if you leave college and you're indebted a few $100,000, you're now a slave to debt. You know, it's a different slavery. Let's not like compare the two, but it is a type of indebtedness to something which is hanging over you all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that came out strongest for me. And I think it was really nice because I was in the US during the Capitol uprising when everyone stormed the Capitol. And I thought what I thought was the Capitol, the uprising itself was, of course, was a big story in the U.S. But what I found as the more interesting part of it is knowing that the Black Lives Matter protesters and those other protesters had such a different experience. Like the whole experience was, and from the outside perspective, anyone outside of the U.S. would see it objectively and say, "Oh, two protests. One, if those were Black protesters going into that Capitol, you know there would be a lot of deaths. You just know it because there was just a zero tolerance level. And then the fact that they were the white people that went into to do this,
and they were dressed like crazies.
Yeah, there was a wholly different experience. So that would be a prime example of what you're speaking to. And I was fascinated being in the U.S. to see and have that experience while it was happening. Didn't surprise me, but that would be a prime example of where that shows up. Yeah. Yeah. So 14 times you've listened to or read the book? You've listened to.
Yeah. And sometimes I normally listen from chapter 13 to chapter 40 on repeat.
Okay. And why? Why chapter 13?
Oh, because at the beginning of the book, it's like the beginning.
The preamble.
Yeah, it's like, okay, there's or track 13, sorry.
Track 13, okay.
Yeah, I don't remember which one it is though. Yeah, what was your question?
Yeah, no, I was curious because I mean, when I think of myself doing anything over and over again, then there is something in repetition.
Yeah.
Where things get more and more grounded.
Yeah, that was the intention also.
Yeah. You know, when I look at our relation,
I think I even made a post that book for me is a kind of life book. Like if you wanna get coached or mentored, or if you're dealing with a certain struggle, that book kind of speaks to a lot of facets.
Nice.
And I mean, Anthony also did the thing on what was it, the Elephant Journal?
Yeah. The Elephant Journal. No. You mean his company?
Yeah. What was it?
It was the Elephant Journal was the other one. It was his I can't remember now. It'll come back to me.
So he took one chapter, one archetype.
Yeah, the archetypes that we did. There's still 20 of those archetypes coming out on there, and it's horrible that I can't even remember the name. But I also have a bit of jet lag still.
You're forgiven.
Buzzworthy. It's on Buzzworthy. Yeah.
Buzzworthy, guys.
There's 20 different archetypes of individuals overcoming aspects of self-love, things that people are struggling with. Yeah.
And I would even say that I could see myself in almost all the characters, even the husband that was suppressing and he didn't want to talk to you. I've been there.
Yeah.
So it was really nice for me to just allow myself to embody all these characters and also celebrate how far I've come.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're coming up to our hour, Bambos. Our first show.
Back. And like on the corner of my eye, we're like, oh, we've managed to keep 10 to 11 people entertained.
Nice.
And we talked nothing.
They stayed with us all this time. I did try to ask what kept them with us. And
like think about it though. Like I didn't make time to really. I watched in the beginning, but then I just stopped. The book was enough for me.
Which one? What are you talking about?
Oh, in the beginning when you started doing the podcasts and
Mhm.
posting, I also did it. But
Yeah.
then at some point, I was like, I just want to put my time listening
Yeah.
to the book, and I'm good.
Nice. Well, we've got a nice list of shows. I don't know if we have them, we can access them to see them, to announce a bit of what's coming up for this week. But we have actually, there's
starting tomorrow.
I forget the Alexander. I can't remember his last name, but Alexander is somebody who came in through Peter Koenig. And Peter basically said he wanted him to be with us. He's an artist. His work is at Tesla headquarters, at Google headquarters, and he paints in extremely cold locations. So he goes to extremely, extremely cold and he paints there, and that's part of his expression. So creativity in extreme cold, which I think obviously, I just saw your eyes light up. So that's clear.
Yeah. Gratitude junkie.
Gratitude. Chris Palmer. He wrote a book called Dear Gratitude. Sweet guy. I'm also doing his show, and he's all about gratitude in a really beautiful, fun, loving way. So we'll talk to him about his journey with gratitude.
I'm really looking forward to that one.
And then on Thursday, it's Colin, and I don't remember the last name, so I'll have to print it out so I can see this. But this is coming through Bolalong, and Bolalong has been demanding that we have him call in on our show. So that show will be talking about his work with Sherbet and honor. I can't remember the last name, but he'll, as Bolalong, will honor pay. There was one more show on there as well. Was that right?
Mariana.
And Mariana, is that this week?
Yeah, Friday.
Oh, that's fun. And Mariana has worked as a hostess at karaoke bars around the world. And I thought, how random is it just to discuss with her what that looks like? It's Colin Turner, just for those people wondering.
Thank you, Bolalong.
Thank you, Bolalong. I always know you're there to help my brain. So that's it for this first episode back. How are you feeling?
I feel grateful.
Oh, nice. It's really fun to kind of be back in a new sofa with you and trying to like navigate how are we going to change this? Okay, till tomorrow. We see you next time on
A Wonderful Chaos, people.
Bye-bye. Have you got a fly in your eye? What's going on there? On the other eye. Bye-bye.
It's fluff.
Bye.